Welcome to the Humble Heartbeat Speaks in Uncharted Conversations. Today we have with us our guest, Glen Muse, and he is from Houston, Texas. So welcome, Glen. Glen is the founder of Texas Pictures, and I had the opportunity to meet Glen as a storyteller for Texas Films for a documentary. And it's such a pleasure to have you on our podcast. So welcome, Glen.
Yeah. Hey, Ron, you got something with this one, baby. 2024, let's go. People got it twisted. They think cause we Christian, we soft. Son, we saved, not soft. Let's go.
Clap your hands if you know that you've been saved. Do your dance if you know that you've been saved. Give him praise if you know that you've been saved. If you've been saved, then you put your whole self in. He takes your old self out. He puts your new self in and turns your life around.
Such a pleasure to have you on our podcast. So welcome, Glen.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
So Chrissy and I had the opportunity to, when I lived in Pensacola, we joined with Jayla's Boys, our friends Hammer and Lakeisha, and we were invited to record our session regarding my sister's death from fentanyl. And it was an opportunity to really tell the story of everything that devastated my life. And it was a opportunity to educate people. It was an opportunity to be the generational curse breaker of my family, and also tell the truth of the lies that was within our family that didn't want to be spoken of. So thank you, Glen, for giving me the opportunity to be the game changer and the curse breaker.
Well, thank you for sharing. Everybody grows when someone shares a story. It always has value. The person who's sharing the story grows. The people who hear the story grow. I certainly grow while I sit and listen and occasionally throw out a question. You know, sometimes people just go, and I just nod and listen, and that's it.
Well, I had the amazing opportunity, and Chrissy was with me, that we got to record in the hangar in Pensacola.
That place was amazing. I loved that place.
It is. I learned a lot from the hangar guy. His name escapes me, but he was the owner, and I learned some things about doing live events, and it was an unexpected education for me, and it's awesome to shoot in the studio. We do these summits all over the country, and a lot of times we record stories in churches, office buildings, conference rooms, and hotels. Recorded one set of stories in a Harley Davidson dealership, also in Florida, and recorded one set of stories in a funeral home, which was a little bit of a trigger for some.
Yeah.
But holy cow, it was certainly quiet.
Yeah, no doubt about that. You don't have to go quiet on the set there, right?
Right.
No,
right.
It stayed pretty quiet.
So you have done some interesting stories, and you've traveled all over the world. Could you tell me about your experience of how you got started and why you do this?
Well, Texas Pictures started 18 years ago, and primarily for the first 15 years, our primary focus was industrial production. A lot of training and safety videos, a lot of business-to-business marketing kind of videos, things that the general public rarely has any exposure to and really has any need, any interest. And once in a while, we get to do a documentary kind of thing. And so one of our clients is the Houston Police Department. And in 2011, we made a documentary about impaired driving. And that got us a lot of exposure with other law enforcement agencies, as well as Mothers Against Drunk Driving. So they're one of our clients. They're still one of our clients. And
Great program.
That expanded things into more documentaries about impaired driving, training videos for law enforcement that deal with general public issues, general public things that would be of interest to the general public. And so in the course of growing into that reputation of being of working with law enforcement, which we've done a lot. I have my own bulletproof vest, which is way cool. When I put it on, I get taller.
Right.
Kind of weird. I think my IQ goes down a little bit, but I get taller. And I'm not even kidding about the IQ, because
10 feet tall, bulletproof.
When you're feeling bulletproof, you can get a little stupid.
Yeah.
So anyway, and so near the end of 2022, the DEA hired us to record stories very much the same as all the other stories about fentanyl from family members that's on our channel now. And they hired us to record these stories at a fentanyl family summit that they put on here in Houston in November of 2022. And so at that point, we had a YouTube channel. We've had our YouTube channel since 2009. And at that point, we had accumulated about 1,600 subscribers. And at the time, that seemed way cool.
Right.
And
that is.
Not so much anymore. But we started putting these fentanyl family stories on our channel, really just the same way we've always put content on our channel, as a way to showcase our work. And they took off.
Yeah.
They started getting a whole lot of attention. And so...
Because it's an epidemic. It's an epidemic. Yes. And not only it affects so many people, but it is a railroad train on the loose. And people really need to pay attention.
For sure. It's so far reaching beyond just the dead person.
Yes.
The family members, the friends, the impact it has on their community with someone being absent, someone being gone.
It's devastating.
And those are things that secondary impact is one of those things that really gets neglected by the general public, by the media. They talk about death counts, and that's really the beginning and end of the discussion. They talk about the death count has gone down a little bit lately, and that's great. But that's not taken into consideration the impact on families. It's not taken into consideration the revived overdoses, the overdoses that are saved by naloxone, by Narcan. And it's not taking into consideration the people who pass later because of the cumulative effects of fentanyl and from illicit drugs. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I'm always a big proponent that the conversations need to change. That we just can't keep talking about this stuff the way we've always talked about it. It just doesn't work. Like, we really need to go back to a lot of the roots of the issue, which you're right. People are like, well, the death count went down. It's like, okay, well, it'll probably be back up tomorrow. Like, because we have this and there's just so many conversations that need to happen more about prevention than we talk about the ends. Like, we got to go back and really focus on how do we tackle this from a prevention place, and what kind of conversations need to happen, and who is going to start having these conversations. Because if we don't change the conversation, the ending is still going to be the same.
Yeah, we've been doing the same fight for I don't know, 50 years or longer with different drugs. It's not that we're using the same tools to fight the same battles that we've done for 50 years, and we're expecting different results. That's nope. It hasn't worked before, so why would it work now?
Right. I agree.
There's no when the problem was heroin or crack cocaine or methamphetamines, that all of those things, as they fall by the wayside, something else comes in and takes their place, because we're not focusing on prevention and we're not touching on the real core issue, the real thing that keeps bringing these drugs into our country, and that's demand.
Mm-hmm.
We pay for them.
Yes. And yesterday there was a huge drug bust here in Houston, and very high in meth and also fentanyl. I just want to give out some statistics here. I live in Harris County, which is Houston, one of the largest counties, and fentanyl roughly had 49% of the 196 fatal drug overdoses in Harris County. Accidental overdose from teenagers ages 15 through 19 rose to 19%, and 19 deaths identified in 2023 and 20 in 2024. I want to say the age factor, the leading cause of fentanyl is primary driver of fatal overdoses, killing more than one person per day in Harris County. So, alarming, right?
For sure.
And kids today have far more access to it than they did 10 years ago.
Yes.
You know why?
Internet.
The internet, the emojis, the school system, the demand, and access. And so education is very crucial. Talking to your children is very important. And not only, I'm going to mention sextortion also for teenagers, because it is equally going to be as high for accidental suicide. Sextortion and drugs will be next in line for overdoses and suicides.
Right.
Because of the pressure they put on children today. And children are not children anymore. They're adults at a younger age, because they spend most of the time doing adult things when they should be being kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, some adult things.
Yeah,
not all, but
not all.
It seems like there's less adult things like getting jobs and that kind of thing. But that's just me being a cynical old guy.
So
I agree. Like they don't choose the healthy adult things.
Right. There's not that same motivation to be on your own. There's not that same motivation for that kind of independence that comes from getting a car, paying for a car, having a job to pay for the car, and handling all of that, so that you have that independence with the obligations that go with it.
Yeah.
But as far as prevention goes, and the whole talking to your kids argument, I think that could happen earlier than most people talk about. It has to be age appropriate, but it could start when a kid is 3, 4, 5, 6 years old. Mm-hmm. And at that age, the conversation is about basic right and wrong, following rules, respecting the law. Mm-hmm. Because in a drug deal, here's a elephant in the room people don't like to talk about. In a drug deal,
say it.
The buyer and the seller are both committing crimes.
Right, culpable. Mm-hmm.
And if at an early enough age, parents develop that core value in their children about the importance of law, the importance, I hate to say obeying the law, but respecting the law, of following the law, that laws exist for good, important social reasons, for safety reasons. Mm-hmm. Traffic laws are a great example. That
following the rules.
Yeah. Yeah. And then as they get older, they can get into some conversations that are more drug specific, that are more about illicit drugs and the dangers involved and all of that.
Yeah, and I think their conversations also need to include about trauma, because
for sure,
people don't equate that children are being bullied at a much younger age than our generations. I mean, even my generation, they never called it bullying. You just got picked on and that's the way it was. And you worked your way through the circle. And so I think we don't talk enough to our youth at a young enough age of, I don't want to say proper because that is such an old term, but like healthy ways to deal with trauma, because given the take, most aren't going to choose that way. They're going to choose the one that gets them out of the trauma the quickest way in their mind. Hence, a lot of people go into the addictive behaviors, which is what you see. I know my godson, he was bullied in school, and I mean, he almost took his life. It was terrible. It was one of the worst things I've had to experience. I don't have any children, so, he was like a big thing for me, but people just did not listen when he was talking about being bullied and how it was affecting him. And they're just like, well, it is what it is. And I'm just like, you are not going down the wrong road to deal with this. Like you're not doing drugs. You're not going to be doing alcohol. Those cannot happen, because that is just another vice that's going to grab you. So how do you feel about that, Glenn? I know you film a lot of people, and a lot on the fentanyl. Do you feel like that would be something that could help change some of the conversations?
Yeah, it's really like a basic humanity kind of thing to treat everyone with kindness and a reasonable level of consideration. There's this bullying. Bullying is a pretty broad term. Mm-hmm. But just the simple being made fun of for some simple thing or something you have no control over. When I was little, people made fun of my hair, and it bugged me. It didn't drive me to want to not go to school or anything like that. But it can. I heard a story from one of our storytellers recently whose daughter dropped her tray in the lunchroom, and it happens when that happens. Everybody applauds, and she was so embarrassed for the next week that she ate lunch alone in a classroom just to avoid that bullying kind of ridicule, that awkwardness. That you're at that age, you're awkward enough as it is. Mm-hmm.
Very true.
As you're growing, you're figuring things out. Your body's changing, and so you're not all that secure to begin with. And then when someone comes along and amplifies that by picking on you, by ridiculing you, by making you the subject of jokes that others laugh at, that's far-reaching in terms of how it impacts others.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah, and it tends to stick around in your mind a lot longer than we ever think. I know, like, I experienced trauma in my early 20s that still came for me in my 40s because I hadn't really dealt with the self-mental talk. And, right. When you are going through a hard time, those thoughts tend to come back in your mind. And so it's difficult because people are like, oh, they just laughed at you. But in your mind, you've run this whole other scenario. Like you said, you're embarrassed. You don't want to come in for them to say other things. And I think people just don't really see a lot of that stuff too. Like that, the mental part can linger with you for decades. Even if it's minor, mm-hmm. even if it's some little thing, it can stick in someone's head. And if they don't, it shouldn't happen, but if it does happen, if the person doesn't share it some kind of way, talk it out, do something to reconcile it in their head, it'll keep bouncing around.
Mm-hmm. But here's the key. That all comes from communication, and you have to be able to have conversations with your children to be seen and to be heard. And if you're not listening and you're not seeing them and you're not applying those two things, it's never going to be fixed because they're going to isolate, they're going to hide, and they're going to do things that are not in your power. So, and I'm going to use this as an example. My middle son, Aaron, I have four children. One's adopted. Got him when he was 8, but 2 older kids, 2 younger kids, 4 in high school at one time. My middle son is my payback. And I deserve every bit of it. But he wore me out. And when I tell you that this child at 14, a young man who knew better, would get in my car and drive it when I wasn't there. He passed me going up a street when I'm coming down the street in my car with the windows down and the radio blaring. And I'm like, that looks like my car. You know what I mean?
I know that car.
And that was pre-cell phone. And so I have to whip my car around and follow him to get him to pull over and honk, pull over. And he's 14, shouldn't be driving. But he knew how to drive farm equipment and all the other things. And we let him. So boundaries. And, you know, my son was just an experimental. He was just going to do what he wanted to do. He just didn't want to follow. He just did not want to follow the rules. Had a attraction to knives and fire. When he was probably 7, he lit the bottom of the bunk beds on fire with a lighter.
Oh my goodness.
When I tell you I have my hands full and I know what you're talking about, I know what you're talking about. I'm telling you, he did everything in his power. Should just be a shit pot disturber. But let me tell you this about him. He is the one who found my sister in her overdose. And it is forever imprinted in his life.
Yeah.
And it has made such a large impact of how he treats people, how he shows up in the world, and how he speaks to people. And I can tell you, it has made him a better person for all the trauma that he's gone through. It has made him a better person, a more compassionate person, and a listener where he was not before.
Yeah.
Because it made a difference in the impact of his life.
That's such a big thing. One of the things that when we do an interview, oftentimes what I will say to a storyteller, I don't remember if I said it to you or not, Keisha, but I will tell the storyteller, it's usually a parent, sometimes a sibling. I will tell them, and again, after the interview, after I do the other stuff, I'll tell them that the last part of a person's life is oftentimes, and maybe every time, someone else's lesson.
Yes.
And that it's no consolation, but it is beautiful in a way. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. That's a great example of the someone else's lesson thing.
Well,
yeah, I think that's a great analogy because a lot of people would not think that way. But, you know, we can learn from everyone in every situation, whether it happens to us or not. It's a teachable moment. And there is a lesson to be learned there. And I think sometimes we're just in a society that is just bam, wham, thank you, ma'am, off we go. We don't really register in those teachable moments. And I think that's a travesty in society. Like we can learn from people. I'm a big one that says, you know, every story matters. And just because they're gone doesn't mean their story doesn't matter. It's still powerful. It just had an unfortunate conclusion. But they still deserve the right to be honored by having their story told. I think that's a big thing. And then you get the story from the other side of the people that are left behind. And I know I've watched, I was there during the filming at the hangar. I've watched your videos on your YouTube channel, and it's another powerful part of the story. I know for me, like when Keisha told me you were coming on, I was like, I have one question I want to ask Glenn.
This ought to be good.
Yeah, you're going to be surprised, but you film a lot of these all across the United States. I don't know if you've gone international. Have you gone international?
We've talked about it. We haven't done it yet. We have an inquiry from Montreal, Canada, and an inquiry from the UK, but it's way down the road.
Yeah, it's a lot of logistics. So my question is, as you're sitting there, because you're a one-man show when you come, right?
Pretty much. Sometimes my wife comes along too, and she is a giant help.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of times it's just me.
So you have a one-time show, you're filming back to back to back to back. I mean, your schedule, I know I heard them talking, and it can be insane on filming day.
A little bit.
And so I know you have time in between to like take breathers, that you often just chat with the guests that you're doing. But my question is, how do you, as the filmmaker and producer, how do you handle the big emotions that are in the room? I know Keisha and I, when we were talking to people about writing their book stories, we always talk to them about the emotional recoil of when they have to revisit all their trauma. And there's a lot of emotion in that. And I've seen the people being filmed, and I understand all their emotions. But I'm curious, for your side of the camera, that you're on that side, does it affect you when you just have all this emotion in the room? And how do you handle that and still maintain your integrity? Because that's what I noticed that day. Your integrity was top notch. Like you were just really there for the people. You understood where they were coming from. And when they had to cry, I mean, you were offering tissues, and a lot of people are not equipped to be able to sit in that kind of atmosphere. So I'm really curious, like, how does that affect you, and how do you handle that?
Well, now I need a tissue. So it is.
It's my turn to hand you the tissue.
Matrix it through the screen.
That's right.
He's
close.
I so love doing this that I sit there and I walk a storyteller through the most painful experience of their lives. But I know how the experience of doing the interview, I know how it's going to end. I know when it's over, you can see this weight that's gone from the storyteller. And that effect, I don't know how long it lasts. It could just be a few minutes. It could be a day. I have no idea. But for that moment, however long that moment is, I got to make them feel a little better. I got to give them a way to pull just a little bit of value out of that terrible loss. And I also know when it's over, we have this weird, I call it the magic box, and we do the interviews through a magic box that the storyteller is talking to me. They're talking to a person. But because of the box, it looks like they're talking directly to the audience, directly to the camera. And so when I come around from that, when it's all over, the storyteller, they always hug me. Man or woman, doesn't matter.
It's a good thing you're a hugger, Glenn. It's a good thing you're a hugger. and then as the hug concludes, I reach into my pocket. Keisha knows this. She's already nodding. I reach into my pocket and I pull out one of these.
Yep.
Lifesavers.
A roll of lifesavers. And they look at it, and oftentimes they'll start to cry again, but it's a different kind of crying, because it really hammers home the value of what they just did.
Yeah.
For other people. There was one time, frightfully close to the time we did Keisha's interview, where the storyteller was a wonderful mother and a great person, but very reserved. in how she spoke. She was dressed very conservatively, kind of pantsuit kind of thing, and very proper. And so when it's all over, I come around from the camera, and there's this kind of hug, kind of a side hug kind of thing, little more conservative. And I took out the lifesavers, and I said, "This is for you." And she just very almost dismissively said, "Oh, thank you." And she went to take it from my hand. And so that wasn't good enough for me. And so I didn't let go.
Yeah.
When she went to take it from my hand, I kind of pulled it back, and she pulled back and then looked at it, and she got it. And she burst into tears and hugged me again. And it was really an extra incredible kind of moment.
Yeah.
So I get to do that over and over and over. So dealing with the stories, I know what's coming.
Yeah.
And then after we've edited the stories, which can take a ridiculous amount of time.
Right.
I
can verify that.
Yeah, I'm sure. And so after we've edited the stories, when we publish the story and comments start rolling in on the channel, on the story, it kind of happens again. Even though there is morons use YouTube too.
Yeah.
And so there's going to be comments from morons, but the vast majority of the comments are
Yeah, they raked me over the coals.
Yeah,
it happens.
They raked me over the coals.
But I bet, Keisha, I bet you found some healing in that too.
I absolutely did, because they can't judge me. They've never walked in my shoes.
It also really cues up opportunities for you to say, yeah, well, here's where you're wrong, and go into that. And so there's that. But so the storyteller typically experiences that same lift again when the comments start rolling on. And I guess the largest percentage of the comments are from people who are saying, me too. I lost my son, my daughter, cousin, whatever. And it just happened this long ago. And so we get lots of that. And I know that a lot of storytellers find some value in that, knowing that their loved one's story is reaching others.
Yes.
And so it's
the impact is great. I want to ask you this question, because I'm curious to know. What has been the most impactful story that you heard? Because I know I have heard when the siblings die together, or when the babies die because somebody in the room left them something for a baby to touch and they had no chance or opportunity. And they're all tragic, don't get me wrong. But I know some stories have impacted me more than others. And the new episodes coming out are the missing people. And that is really something I don't know how I can live with not knowing.
Yeah, those are there's a new kind of difficult to the missing stories, because you always want there to be hope and eventually some sort of resolution, and so those are weird. But picking a most impactful story, that's a tough one. But there's one that comes to mind, but it isn't a fentanyl story.
Okay.
It's an addiction recovery story.
Okay.
And the storyteller's name's Thomas Reef, and his story on our channel is called Meth, Miracles, and Ministry.
Okay.
And for all the stories that I have listened to, all the stories that I've edited, which means listening to them over and over and over.
Right.
That's the only, quite a few have choked me up at one point or another in the course of doing the interview. But during the interview, I have the advantage of distractions. I have the camera, I have audio levels to look at, I have the clock to look at, I have the shot to look at, I have all these things that I can occupy some of my thoughts with. But with Thomas, he was a veteran, then a police officer, and he was stealing drugs from the property room. And he overdosed.
Oh, no.
And the whole path that he overdosed in a city car, in a patrol unit, and ran into an ambulance.
Oh, my.
Which is a kind of a good news, bad news thing.
Right.
And
They're right there.
The EMTs are right there.
Right.
And
How do you explain that?
they know him. They find him unconscious. They give him naloxone. See, look, I got it right here.
Yeah.
They give him naloxone, or I have it in a box too, and revive him. And there they are. And so, wow. So
Terrible.
his story, when we were doing the interview, he made me cry.
Yeah.
There was a moment that it really pissed me off. It just doesn't, not me, no, but there I was. Not just tearing up a little bit, but I had to stop for a moment. And so that story is one that stands out to me most.
So in the end, did he get clean and worked on his ministry?
Yeah, I suppose the title kind of gives that away.
Yeah.
But
I want to be sure that that really happened. I don't want to assume that it happened.
it did. But it does, earlier in the story, it does seem hopeless.
Yeah.
It seems like there is...
this addiction is tragic. And
for
people
sure.
don't realize the impact that it makes on every person in the family, whether you are the enabler, the eggshell walker in the room, the children, the family, the finances. All of it together is so dysfunctional, and it is unbearable load. It's like a walking time bomb until it explodes.
Yeah, so many people around someone in addiction, they don't know what they're supposed to do.
Right.
There is, what you're supposed to do is different depending on the circumstances and the person in addiction.
Sure.
But there's no, you don't get any training for that. What to do if your family member is an addict. There's nothing substantial out there. It's not a common knowledge thing. It's not like if your family member has the flu, you know what to do. Mm-hmm. But if they're dealing with that, you don't. And so you kind of wing it. And April Babcock, who is the founder of Lost Voices of Fentanyl, she told me, maybe it was in her interview, she said, we tried tough love, we tried enabling, we tried being supportive, and all our kids are dead. April's kind of brutal like that.
Yeah.
Well, I can say from my experience that I literally had no idea that it was right in front of me, and I never paid attention to it. So I could have said, and I take responsibility for it now, but I didn't know then what I should have known. And it was right in front of me. Could have known, possibly.
Go with that.
But I'm also naive in the fact that it was not my problem. I kept my blinders on and I had my life going on, right? I had my life. I was lifing in my own life with my own children and my own stuff.
As you're supposed to. Those are your responsibilities too. You're being too hard on you, Keisha.
But I also know, I'm thankful that it could have killed everybody in my family.
Yeah.
They just it could have gone totally tragic. And I'm thankful that my children had enough sense to look at my sister and say, I don't want that for my life, and stay away from it.
That's a lesson.
It is a lesson. But I also know that education for me has been so valuable, because now I can look at my grandson's text and I can ask him about those emojis and what is he using that for and what does that mean. And so I'm not repeating the cycle, right? And education is the key, and being informed is what is important. And also just being the resource. For me, that's one of my biggest things in advocacy, is being the resource. Having Narcan available, being able to support my police department with the Narcan in my area, telling people about what's going on in my community, and serving. Montgomery County does a really good job here. They just did the black balloons yesterday, and they had a walk of life for fentanyl, and they're a larger organization than here in Harris County, but they have invited me to work with them as well. So I'll be happy to serve in that capacity, and continue to change lives, educate people, tell my story, and make impact.
Yeah, people have to be comfortable in just being the storyteller, like telling the story. People don't know if they don't ever hear about anything. They just are like, but they don't know. And so people have to stand up in that. And I know a lot of times they battle the shame wagon. I don't want people talking about our family that way. I don't want them to see me in that light. And I liken it to like my parents' generation. It was always pull up the rug and sweep it all under there, because nobody need to know about that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And I really appreciate, Glenn, that you're like, the sweeper is broken. The rug is gone. We're going to talk about this, right. and we're going to put visibility on it. So I would really like if you could, I want people to understand just how dedicated to this mission you are. So if you could put your map up there so people can see all the places you have gone
and
to help these storytellers get their story out. I mean, look at this map. This is amazing. Glenn has gone to all of these places and filmed storyteller stories. So he's not just staying in Houston, in Texas. I mean, Texas has a lot of dots there, but he is going across the United States. And I believe he's even been in Alaska.
Right.
So far away from me, but I think there's a dot there.
Anchorage.
And so he is going across, he is dedicated to this mission. And for me, that's what I want to see more of in the world. I want to see people stand in their missions and say, it's from the Bible. I want to say it's in Samuel. I could be wrong. Ty, you're going to have to look this up.
I have it right here.
Where it was, God said, who can I send? And they raised their hand and said, I'm here, send me, Lord. Yep. That's what we need. And clearly Glenn has answered that call, because he is all over the United States. And I really appreciate that, Glenn, that you're like, distance does not matter. The story matters. And the story has to be told. Distance is nothing. Because for me, it's, you understand that future lives depend on these stories being told.
For sure.
And you reach people through words. Like, words are how we reach people. And you understand that sometimes I feel that the younger generations really need the shock and awe. Like, I mean, it just has to be put out there. Like, we're going to shock your system and show you, like, this is the real deal. This is the raw conversation. People are sitting here telling you their deepest, darkest pain is coming onto film, so that your family doesn't have to go through what they did.
Yeah.
Yes, there's this. This could be your mother talking about you, kind of thing.
Yeah, this is your sister having to come on here and bear this, and then you battle, the family doesn't want their secrets told, and there's a lot that goes into it when you step into telling your story, and you are getting it from all angles, not just people making the comments, which I agree. I always say people are keyboard warriors when it comes to watching things on we just put it on there because nobody knows who I am, and people can find out, it's the whole thing. But you also battle the stuff. You're now in a spotlight that you maybe necessarily not saw yourself in at any point in your life.
For sure.
And now you've stepped into that. And with that comes responsibility. There's pressure. There's society pushback.
Conflict.
And you got to deal with your family and your friends and their friends who are like, I can't believe you put that out there like that. It just paints them as a different kind of person than what we knew, which, really, I say this a lot, like, people know you at the stage they came into your life.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, a lot of people can't go with you a long way on your journey because they can't see you past what they knew you as. Mm-hmm. They can't see the future you that is being crafted and, fill in the cracks and you're going to go do things, but they can't see that because they remember you at this point. That's the you they know. That's the you they're comfortable with. That's the one they want people to know, whether it's good or bad, but there's a whole lot more that has to be told. You can't just, it's like when you're reading a book, you're interested in the first chapter and you're like, oh, I got to know how it ends. So you hurry up and go to the end. And then you're like, yeah, that didn't end how I wanted it, so I'm not going to read anything in between. But it's the in between that sets up the journey to get to where they got to. And so I commend you for all that you do. I met you in Florida. I thought you were amazing. I'm like, hey, he's got it going on. He's a one-stop shop and gets this done. But from a storytelling perspective, which, we've had discussion, that's the realm I run in a lot. I think it's just amazing that you're just willing to, this is a terrible thing, but go the distance. You're willing to go the distance for people. And I think that's a beautiful humanity thing, that you are willing to go there for people when they may not have anyone else that will actually listen to the story. And you're like, you know what? I'll come to you. I think that's amazing. I commend you. Keisha and I love you, Glenn. We think you're amazing. And, I just keep going because people's stories need to be told.
Well, I appreciate that. That's our plan. We'll keep going as long as there's stories to tell.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't believe we will ever run out of those stories.
No.
Unfortunately, we will not ever run out of those. We may curb them. We
have awesome stories too.
Yeah.
We have the addiction recovery stories, and those tend to be awesome.
Very inspirational.
Great happy endings. The human trafficking stories also are all at a point now where things are awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
By the time they share their story, it's all behind them and they're reaching these new milestones. Same thing with the domestic violence stories, is that that's behind them and things are awesome for them now, typically.
Yeah.
The fentanyl stories, we don't typically see that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. When you were,
but we also, with the fentanyl stories, there is also the people all come to us. We talk to people who want to share their story, and there are tons of people out there who do not want to share. They want to follow their path of grief a different way, and there's nothing wrong with that. But once in a while, we'll hear from one who's in a family who other members of the family shared their story, and that
they're not happy about it. Yeah, well, I know what that feels like. Were you able to talk with Alicia Tappan when you were in Pensacola for trafficking?
As long as there's no follow-up questions, sure.
No, did you?
I don't. Not that I remember.
She's an expert in human trafficking. That's all I was just asking. Alicia Tappan in Pensacola. I don't know if she came to Foley or not.
I think we're going to be back in Pensacola in August.
Okay. Just curious.
If I remember right.
I would love for her to tell her story.
That sounds
amazing.
Wonderful. Those stories are harder to find. There's more. They have a whole different terrible angular twist to them because they usually involve sexual abuse and things that are embarrassing in more of an intimate kind of way. So we have less of those stories, and I think there's 7 or 8 stories in that series. Yeah. We also have a series called American Peace Officer.
Okay.
Which is just totally different, but because I've done so much work for law enforcement, done so many ride-alongs, and what I've learned is cops have stories.
Yeah,
like in a big way, and they tend to kind of be just looking for the opportunity to share.
Yeah,
and so we have this series. I think it's 8 or 10 episodes, and it's different officers from different parts of the country sharing a story about some experience that has stuck with them through the years, and some are terrible tragedies, some are incredible uplifting victories. Just varies. There's a friend of mine who's a Houston police officer shares his story about finding a man on a bridge on a high flyover kind of overpass. And he thought it was just a broken down car, but no, he was contemplating jumping. And so it's a really powerful story. When we interviewed him, it was 8 years after it happened, and he still got choked up and cried a little bit in the course of telling the story. It's very powerful.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go off tangent here for a second, Glenn, because I have to know, what is it like to do the ride along? Because I know if it was me, I'd be pressing all the buttons. I'd be like, how do we turn the siren on? Rolling the window down, be like, yo. I would have no self-control or restraint not to have squirrel moments every freaking second that I was in there.
That's good. Squirrel moments. Yeah, it's maybe some of it's being a dude.
Yeah.
But you got to keep it cool when you're getting into this tricked out patrol unit. It's got all kinds of electronics. It's got guns. It's got
riding
dirty. And so it's cool the first few times, but it just becomes a car pretty quick.
Yeah.
The last time I did a ride along was a couple of years ago, and it was during an event at HPD and DPS and Harris County Sheriff's Office. We're on this coordinated event that was happening during some car racing event that happens in Houston every year. And I was so excited about doing a ride along that I fell asleep in the car. And the officer I was riding with, his name is Sal. He recorded video of me asleep.
Oh no.
It was like 3 a.m, to be fair. And I've known Sal for close to 20 years now. So it's not, but still, I fell asleep on the ride along. It was that exciting.
That's some good behind the scenes footage. And now we pan to Glenn.
Yeah, it's on my phone, but I don't have a way to share it. Darn it.
Oh, what a bummer!
Yeah,
but I'm just back there, just not. I was in the passenger seat, just. And my wife was recording video in a helicopter at the same time. She was up in a helicopter, which is which is cooler than a patrol unit. I probably wouldn't have fallen asleep there.
I would hope not. And
Well, that's
hope
okay.
that you were strapped in and hanging on in the helicopter. So, Glenn, do you
Go ahead.
have anything upcoming? Where can people find you?
Well, we do. We have a recovery story that is going to premiere either later today or tomorrow. Sorry, there's some weird noise over there.
That's okay.
So we have that recovery story, and we have a new fentanyl story that's going to premiere Monday night at 7:00 Central Time.
Mm-hmm.
Central Time.
Central, yes, because we're on Eastern.
And after the recovery story, the recovery is about 30 minutes long, and after the recovery story, there'll be a live event, which we do the live events pretty regularly after premieres. And in
Pepper, give us some play-by-play back there.
It's my dog.
I don't know.
That's
my
Keisha's dog.
Okay. And so in the live event, people who were watching the story join, and there's a chat, and I talk to them much like what's going on here. And we talk, usually the storyteller is in the chat, and we talk about, there's a lot of talking about fentanyl, and there's also talking about other things, other things that are in the news. Maybe there's a lot of talk about recovery. There's a few people who regularly participate in the live events who say that the live events are like going to a meeting, going to an AA meeting.
Yeah.
And so there's that. So we have that coming up in a little over, 2 weeks from today. We'll be in Memphis recording stories.
That's right, for a summit.
Yes, for a summit. A storytelling summit that has grown, and there's some other events going on around it that I'm only partially involved in, but I can tell you that they called me 2 times while we've been doing this.
Look at that.
Yeah, they make me tired. But
We're so thankful.
So there's Memphis, there's North Carolina. We're going to be in North Carolina, and we're going to be doing some stories about impaired driving, very much in the same kind of format. And it's the same kind of thing. The impaired driving is another one of those things that comes out of the blue. Even there's no predicting it. There's nothing you can miss when you get the call that one of your loved ones was killed by a drunk driver. And so they're very powerful stories. We've done similar stuff with MAD quite a few times.
Yeah, and for those that don't know, MAD is Mothers Against Drunk Driving.
Drivers.
Right. Yeah, and they've actually made it official that their name is just their acronym now.
It's so they just were mad.
It's just MAD. And
As they should be.
Right.
It's because there's all these other things aside from being drunk. There's other kinds of impairment, and so they've kind of evolved away from that. And so there's that. We're going to be doing one near Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Okay.
And I don't know where else. We're going to be doing a story right here in our studio next week. Occasionally people come to us.
Okay.
And so, and there's a location I'm forgetting. We're talking to someone in Northern California. We're talking to someone in Montreal.
Wow.
And someone in Massachusetts, I believe.
Man, can you imagine if you had to have a passport, if you traveled in the U.S. and lived there, what your passport would look like? You would need, I need an extra book just for my stamps.
Yeah, you'd have to get one of those extra large passports.
Right.
So,
Or like,
when I was doing the a lot more of the industrial stuff, I did travel internationally a lot. I've been to every continent on Earth. I can show you that map too. I've been to every continent on Earth except Antarctica. These are the places that I have been for clients to tell their stories. Most of the stories are brutally boring, but they're important to them.
That's amazing. That is amazing.
I agree. It's not like I set out to do it. It's not some big giant achievements who have been all over the world on someone else's money.
Yeah.
It's just the work I was doing.
Yeah.
And still do.
Yes. Well, Glenn, I'm so happy to be in Texas now in Houston near you. So if you ever want to invite me to your studio, feel free.
Keisha plugging herself.
Yep.
And
All right.
I also know that, we have some future projects that we're going to work together on, and looking forward to those things. So, us as the Humble Heartbeat Publishing Company, we want to be able to tell people stories and definitely help people who have gone through suicide tell their side of the story, and then the survivor side tell their side of the story. And, that's something that it's our passion project that we're going to work for towards 27. And, we would love for you to help tell our stories as well. And
Well, that's on our list. Suicide.
yeah, I know.
Suicide's a tough one because it's that word
Yep.
that
One
YouTube's
person-
YouTube's
YouTube-
algorithm
Yeah.
uses its mind when it sees that word, and it puts restrictions on videos. So
Yeah, it doesn't like that. Like you have to do the $sign for the S, and or just
Ways
I
around
always
it.
say life or
Right.
death decision. I go down that road. But Glenn, if you could tell people what your YouTube channel is, I don't think we covered that before, so they can find you on YouTube, and you definitely want to subscribe because these stories they're pretty.
Amazing.
I mean, they're amazing and they're powerful. And Glenn really does do it so well that there's just an honor in the story being told, in the way it unfolds and the way he does it. He's amazing at his craft. He understands the assignment that he was given, and it just pays a beautiful tribute to the people that deserve to have their story told, and someone stepped up to tell that with Glenn's assistance. So Glenn, if you could tell them your YouTube channel, and if you have a website, also go ahead and give that for people listening.
our YouTube channel is called Texas Pictures Documentaries. I think if you search for the phrase fentanyl poisoning, you'll find us that way too.
Okay.
That's a pretty easy way to find us. But Texas Pictures Documentaries, and our website is texas-pictures.com.
Okay. Don't forget the dash.
Yeah.
That's important
Gotta
when
have
you're
the
doing
dash.
that.
And our
And
story.
don't spell out dash.
No,
Yeah.
it's just
It's a
the
hyphen.
symbol. Right. It's the
It's
symbol.
just the symbol.
I'm going to plug our story too. So I'm Texas Pictures film number 251 with my sister Gidget Burns. And also the 300s was my follow-up. So I'm on there twice talking about our advocacy. Yes. And I look forward to working with you again this season because we have some big projects to finish and big impact for everybody here. So thank you so much for your time today, Glenn. We appreciate you. And
Yes, it's been a pleasure, Glenn.
Yeah, thanks
Always
for coming
enjoy
on.
talking to you. Always enjoy talking to you.
I love that you're a phone call away and you pick up the phone.
I'm here for you guys.
Thank you.
Hey, this is Keisha. It's important that you leave your comments because we'd love to know about it. We'd also like for you to subscribe, like, share, and tag. See you next time.